All right. So, what else is new? What else could possibly be new? But this is gonna happen. But the people listen? No. And that's it. So let's get into it. I'll say once again, you think that, because Biden doesn't say the N-word anymore, that he's changed his colors. No, he's just more subtle in his tactics. All right? It's very rare people change when they get away with certain actions like this. Certain negative actions. Negative behavior is very rare people change. If they're not caught, if they're able to get away with it 90% of the time, it's rarely people will change. All right. Inside Biden's meeting with civil rights leaders. In a recording obtained by The Intercept, Biden was enthusiastic about executive action and warned against police reform before Georgia's Senate runoffs. Democrats in the House, Senate, and around the country have been urging President-elect Joe Biden to use the maximum amount of executive authority available to him in order to grow the economy, expand civil rights, protect the climate, and otherwise implement the agenda he ran on, despite the expected obstruction from a Republican Senate. On Tuesday, a group of civil rights leaders urged him privately to take a slew of executive actions during a 2-hour virtual meeting. While Biden didn't close the door to anything specific, he was far from enthusiastic about the idea of using executive action. A recording of the virtual meeting attended by Biden, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and civil rights leader was obtained by The Intercept. Excerpts from it can be heard in this week's Deconstructed podcast, which you can find for free on any platform that hosts podcasts. So there's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what's used to. Benita Gupta, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates when you'd have some of the people you were supporting saying, on day one, I'm going to have an executive order to do this, not within the constitutional authority. I'm not going to violate the Constitution. Executive authority that my progressive friends talk about is way beyond the bounds. And as one of you said, maybe it was you, Reverend Al Sharpton, whether it's far left or far right, there is a Constitution. It's our only hope. Our only hope, and the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority. I will use it to undo every single damn thing this guy has done by executive authority. But I'm not going to exercise executive authority where it is a question, where I can come along and say, I can do away with assault weapons. There's no executive authority to do away that. And no one has fought harder to get rid of assault weapons than me. But you can't do it by executive order. We do that, next guy comes along and says, well, guess what? By executive order, I guess everybody can have a machine gun again. So we got to be careful. Biden also warned the civil rights leaders that pressure on the incoming administration around police reform could hurt the party's chances in Georgia Senate runoffs, claiming that the Republicans' ability to define that party as in favor of defunding the police is how they beat the living hell out of us across the country. Biden insisted that his commitment to police reform was unwavering, but argued that branding and effort had done too much damage. Biden made his comments unprompted, referencing an early remark made by the NAACP President Derek Johnson, who had warned that appointing Tom Vilsack to be Secretary of Agriculture would anger black farmers in Georgia, as well as black voters generally in the state, for whom Shirley Sherwood was a hero. Sherwood was fired by Vilsack from a position as Georgia Director of Rural Development for the U.S. Department of Agriculture during Vilsack's previous tenure as an agriculture secretary. During the Obama administration, Her find was quickly revealed to have been a mistake and based on an incomplete airing of a video by the late conservative provocateur Andrew Breitbart, particularly in Georgia. Johnson noted Vislak's capitulation was still a sore spot, and nominating him would be disastrous electorally. If you consider the victory that you appreciated in Georgia, it was around 12,000 votes. So you consider appointments. You also must consider what impact would that have on voters in the state of Georgia. And I'll submit to you that former Secretary Vislak could have disastrous impact on voters in Georgia. Sherry Sherwood is a civil rights legend, a hero, Johnson said. Toward the end of the conversation, Biden raised Johnson's remark to dismiss it, saying that Johnson would soon learn more about Vislak's record. It also wouldn't be prudent to have that fight before the Georgia runoffs, he said, before adding that police reform should also be avoided. I also don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform in that because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur. Promise you, Biden said. That's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. We're talking about giving them money to do the right things. We're talking about putting more psychologists and psychiatrists on telephones when 911 calls through. Why do you want psychologists to handle 911 emergencies? Why do you want psychiatrists to handle 911 emergencies? It's an emergency, and they are not qualified to handle those types of situations. We're talking about spending money to enable them to do their jobs better, not with more force, with less force and more understanding. So when the Walter Wallace situation comes up, he wants EMT workers to show. He wants psychiatrists to be on the phone to calm down people who are not mentally stable, who are, out of their mind, like Walter Wallace, who was brandishing a knife and could possibly stab EMT workers. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Biden. That makes perfect sense. The slogan defund the police has been blamed for House and Senate losses by Majority Whip James Clyburn, Democratic Senator of Carolina, along with other moderate House Democrats. Former President Barack Obama joined in, calling it a snappy slogan that costs votes. I just raised it with you to think about how much we push between now and January 5th. We need those 2 seats. About police reform, but I guarantee you there will be a full-blown commission. I guarantee you it's major element, Biden said. All right, so I'll let you listen to how this all went down with the Biden audio on the Crystal A. Villas channel. Okay, here we go.
Issue going into before January 5th, when the election takes place down in Georgia. But I also don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform in that, because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur. Promise you. Just think to yourself and give me advice whether we should do that before January 5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. I just raised it with you to think about. How much do we push?
Let me rewind it a bit. Hold on a minute.
5th. We need those 2 guys done by executive to do what used to, Benita, you probably used to get there. There's no recording. I'm the first.
Neither was anyone in the public, which is why it's so important to hear Joe Biden mean what he actually says when he's not expecting to be recorded. And so I want to play you a few examples, and then we're going to come back and break it down a little bit.
This is a completely closed call, so just wanted to remind you that there's no recording.
I'm the first person, black or white, who calls attention to the fact that you were finding that there was the rate of people who were African Americans who dying was 3 times that of white people. I don't carry around a stamp on my head saying progressive and I'm AOC, but I have more of a record of getting things done in the United States Congress than anybody you know. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number 1. Number 2, I mean what I say when I say it. There's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what used to, Anita, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates, when you'd have some of the people you were supporting say that on day 1, I'm going to executive order to do this. Not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution. There is a Constitution. It's our only hope. Our only hope. And the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority, I will use it to undo every single damn thing this guy has done by executive authority. But I'm not going to exercise executive authority where it's questioned, where I can come along and say, I can do away with assault weapons. There's no executive authority to do away with that. And no one's fought harder to get rid of assault weapons than me. Me. But you can't do it by executive order. If you do that, the next guy comes along and says, well, guess what? By executive order, I'm going to say everybody can own machine guns again. So we got to be careful. I know you all know this. I know you know it. I don't think we should make that a big issue going into before January 5th. When the election takes place down in Georgia. But I also don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform in that, because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur. Promise you. Just think to yourself and give me advice whether we should do that before January 5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. I just raise it with you to think about. How much do we push between now and January 5th? We need those 2 C's about.
I've always loved sci-fi. The idea of being right on the edge of discovery
about police reform.
And so this comes from leaked reporting by Ryan Grimm at The Intercept. He obtained this leaked recording, he obtained it and wrote an article about it. In that article, there's a 15-minute version of these clips. There's a lot more in there. So I want you to go and listen to the full audio, and I want you to go and read Ryan's article, share his article. It's fantastic reporting. But I wanted to bring you just a few examples there that show some common themes. One, Joe Biden still speaks about black people and about other minorities in this sort of condescending tone that simultaneously, he understands even better than they do, the disadvantages black people face. He says that even before black people, I was talking about racial injustice, which is absurd. That's basically what he's implying in the first part of that clip. He also shows that he's very...
Biden used to talk about he doesn't want his kids growing up in a jungle, a racial jungle. Okay? He's called black leaders in political office the N-word. But Biden, this is who liberal blacks voted for. And they're getting every bit they're going to get. They're going to pay for voting for Joe Biden. Okay, well, what about Trump? Yeah, we know about Trump. I'm showing you what the massive scale, what you're going to get with Joe Biden. Okay? That's what you're going to get. Let's go into it.
Very defensive when even friendly people to him, people that helped organize the vote for him, have gentle criticisms that he basically lashes out behind closed doors. Like, how dare these black civil rights leaders tell me I need to do better? But crucially there are two moments. One, Joe Biden is basically saying that he doesn't want to use his executive power unless it's absolutely unquestioned whether he can. He's not going to actually flex any muscle. He might undo the things Donald Trump did. He'll do little things here and there. But if there's any debate at all about whether he can use his powers, he doesn't want to do it. And he says it's a...
My thing is this: if this is how you're going to be, like, wishy-washy when it comes to, oh, I don't know if I could use my executive powers, I don't know I could use the authorities given to me by my my position. Why the hell did you run for being president? Why did you run for being president? That's common sense. If this is how you're going to be, why run? As you can see, this is what the black community is, the liberal blacks who voted for him. This is what you got. This is what you got to deal with as your potential president, because he's not president yet.
About, I can't do this because if I do it, the next guy's going to come in and do something even worse, undo all I did, and use what I did as a pretext to do more. But Joe Biden is either a naive fool or he's lying to these people, because it doesn't matter. The Republicans are not good faith actors. It doesn't matter if Joe Biden is the most cautious executive power user in modern American history, or whether he uses his powers with reckless abandon every day. The point is, the next Republican will do whatever they can to crush opposition. And it doesn't matter how Joe Biden acts. Joe Biden, again, he either doesn't get that or he does and doesn't care. So what these civil rights leaders are asking for, and go listen to the full clip. I didn't want to just, poach Ryan's entire reporting, but they're basically saying, we want you to be bold. We want you to be principled. We want you to fight for the best legislation you can, but barring that, do as much as you can with executive orders to help us and help our communities and help the most disadvantaged Americans. And Biden's like, nah, not really. I'm not going to do that. If there's any whinging from any Republican, I'm not going to do it. Absolute failing cowardice from Joe Biden. And then you also get him, and this is probably the most insulting part, already saying it's time for black people and progressives to shut the heck up. That's what he's saying already. Basically saying, look, I don't want to talk about Tom Vilsack, that's in the full clip, and how he's not a good agricultural pick. I don't want to talk about what we need to do to curb police injustice and to bring in racial justice. I don't want to hear anything about that right now, because Georgia Senate elections are a few weeks away, and I'm worried about spooking voters in Georgia, so I need you folks in this room to shut the hell up. That's what he's saying. He's not wording it exactly like that, but that's what Joe Biden is saying to some of the most historically and contemporary important leaders of the civil rights community. I don't always agree with all of them on everything, but they have been civil rights icons, a lot of the people in that room. And he's telling them to be quiet, to stop pressuring me, to stop demanding things from me, to stop asking for anything big.
And that's basically it, because he doesn't want to fulfill his promises. This is the same racist Joe Biden. It's just he's a little subtle now. He's a little older. He's a little bit more. He can't say what he could say when he had the vigor in him. So now he's just going to be try to play that old man. I'm wiser. I'm really not that wise. I'm just trying to get away with being sneaky. I'm just going to play the old, like I'm wiser than you. I could, I'm your teacher. Just let me handle it my way. No. The black leaders there, and they're all complacent with it. Okay? They're all complacent with it. But this is what they want. They wanted somebody that's going to give them all the liberties to do whatever, any type of debauchery, any type of immoral things to black people. I really never could understand how black people complain about the things of, injustice going on, in their communities. And why go for somebody who has a record of being racist, a record of calling black people who have governmental authority the N-word, who has said, again, I don't want my kids growing up in a jungle, a racial jungle, who signed the 1994 crime bill, who left black leaders plea to please bring in programs to the black community so they won't resort to crime. No, he just wanted to work with the Republicans, racist Republicans, to lock up as many blacks as they could. Why would you follow somebody like this? And look what he does. Look what he does. He can't be screw you, and call you the N-word. So he'll just play coward. It couldn't be me being a black civil rights leader and listening to Joe Biden talk like this. It could not be me, because all hell would break loose on that Zoom call. All hell would break loose. It wouldn't. Because I would tell him how much of a coward he is. I would have told him, I'm done, and that's it.
Because if you do, one, I won't deliver it, and two, it'll scare Trump voters in Georgia. Whether that's true or not, you can get a pattern here already, guys. You have Joe Biden still trying to build monolithic understandings here of the black community. You have Joe Biden bragging about how he knows more about black suffering than black people do. You have Joe Biden defensive whenever he's challenged, even by friends in private. You have Joe Biden saying that even if I have the power to do something, if it's the least bit controversial, I'm not going to do it. Guys, that makes me very skeptical that he's going to cancel student loan debt, even though most people agree he has the ability to at least do a partial, universal cancellation of federal public debt. But he says he probably won't do that. And then finally, and probably most disgustingly, he's already demanding silence from the black community to help him and his party electorally. Remember this, on his election night, he said to the black community, you were there for me, and I will be there for you. It seems to me like Joe Biden has already broken that promise, and he's not even fully president yet.
But like I said, the black community, majority, the liberals, they want the right to kill their babies. They want the right, the alternative lifestyles, just to say, how do I put this? Transformers are really women. They want to support debauchery and immorality, and be walking side to side with, the white liberals who Malcolm X have already said, they are not your friends. White liberals work with, the racist white Republicans for your demise. Okay? Now let's see what else. Let me show you how Biden is still scum. All right. Show you this. Here we go. Is it showing? Is it showing? Yes, it is. It's showing. All right. Let's get to it. Has Black Lives Matter got to sit down with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris administration? I'll ask it again, has Black Lives Matter, with all the sucking up that they have done, with all the selling out, to a satanic idealist as Karl Marx, has the Biden and Harris administration sat down with Black Lives Matter? No. The answer is no. Black Lives Matter says Biden and Harris have been silent on meeting requests. Of course, you are nice, useful idiots. Okay. And now they have no use for you anymore. Okay. Black Lives Matter is putting the forthcoming Biden-Harris administration on notice for failing to respond to a meeting request from the group. The activists say they were also excluded from Tuesday's meeting between the president and vice president-elect, Louisiana Representative Cedric Richmond, and several civil rights groups. On the night of Biden-Harris victory, Black Lives Matter sent a letter request in the meeting. The movement wrote Wednesday on its Instagram. The post includes a graphic stating, "It has been 32 days since we've requested a meeting with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We've heard no response. Black life cannot wait." The group said, "Creating thriving conditions for Black communities in the 21st century cannot be put on pause." Wait a minute. You guys destroyed Black businesses, created poverty and homelessness with your actions, sided with criminals such as Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, and Rayshard Brooks. And you talk about how, you're for Black lives? Seriously. Who believes you anymore? Black life? Creating thriving conditions, yet you support criminals? The post continued, as the organization leading the largest global social justice movement, a movement that you screwed over the Black Lives local organizations, we demand a seat at the table. To ignore us and the 64,000 of you who have signed our petition is to ignore our generation's most pressing demands for transformative justice. At Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, we are waiting. You're going to have a long wait. Black Lives Matter called on its 4 million Instagram followers to let the Biden-Harris team know you're waiting too. For what? Oh boy, these people are comedians. At the meeting Tuesday, President-elect Joe Biden promised leaders of the prominent civil rights groups that his administration would prioritize racial injustice and form a diverse cabinet that can tackle those issues. The 2-hour virtual meeting, which was closed to press, included Vice President-elect Kamala Harris and Richmond, who will join the Biden administration as a senior advisor. Oh boy, you guys are a joke. Okay, you guys are a joke, and the three of you, all right, screwed over the local chapters of your organization, and they see that about you now, and they're breaking away from you. You guys were useful idiots. That's basically what you guys were, useful idiots. And unfortunately, you're going to have a lot of blacks, liberal blacks, that are still going to stick up for Black Lives Matter. Even though the organization has destroyed businesses, even though the organization is not for, restoring and keeping intact traditional Black families of a mother and a father, and their kids staying together and working things out and, building a healthy community. No, you want to use this to basically a clever way to push for alternative lifestyle rights. That's basically what it is. It's all about. On the backs of dead Black people. Okay? And that's basically what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Useful idiots. Pretty much CRU royalty. But more blacks don't see that. But thanks for getting Biden in office. You get to see that the heart of liberal black America. Feelings matter, words matter, but nothing brought to the table. Nothing, no tangibles matter. Okay? That's not what they want. They want Obama back in office. That's what they want. And they're getting that. Except this person doesn't have black skin. This is a pure racist man. He's going to give blacks, the liberal blacks who voted for him, what they deserve, and what he thinks they deserve. Okay. So you guys better roll up your sleeves and take that inoculation that's going to be given to you guys. Basically, that's what it's about. So enjoy that. Enjoy the fact that you'll have to choose between your public assistance, okay, or getting that vaccine, which you will have to get in order to keep it. Enjoy. All right. If you like the content, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Later.